Welcome to the Caravan Show, where we discuss all things caravans. That's right, everything you need to know about caravans, from weights, towing, maintenance, appliances, renovations, buying a caravan, repairs, destinations and reviews. We'll also chat with some Aussie legends, manufacturers, suppliers and of course, people who love caravans. Take it away, Roy.
G'day everyone, it's Roy here from the Caravan Show once again. Now today I've got a special guest. My guest is Max Taylor. Now Max is a man that's been around our industry for quite some time, and I'd like to introduce him. Max, say good day to our listeners.
G'day Roy and everybody listening to this. Hope you're all well.
Max, I know you actually personally from our days when you were with Caravan World magazine, but tell us a little bit about your history. What got you to Caravan World?
Okay, well, I've been caravanning for most of my life, actually, Roy. We used to go down to Rosebud in Victoria when I was a kid, caravanning in an old Viscount, I think it was. But, you know, I started off really as a journalist, working in local newspapers and as a sub-editor and reporting on local issues when, to be perfectly honest, I realised I wasn't really going to make a lot of money as a newspaper journalist, because the newspaper industry was sort of starting to fade a little bit. And I moved across to magazines, working for ACP magazines. And I got a gig there as a sub-editor on a magazine called Trailer Boat and Trader Boat. That company also published a magazine called Caravan World, which I know you're familiar with. And they needed a deputy editor, and about 18 months or thereabouts, working with the boating magazines, I put my hand up for that deputy editorship under Ros Bromwich. And 9 months later, she left, and I was in the hot seat and taking over as editor of Caravan World. And this is going back about 2007, I think, 2006 or 2007. Suddenly I found myself the editor of Caravan World magazine, Camper Trailer Australia magazine, Motorhome World magazine, a number of other titles, the Caravan World yearbook, the Caravan World test magazine, looking after all the show guides that were printed for things like the Victorian Caravan Show and Leisure Fest. And I suddenly had this publishing empire under me that, and I was only 27 years old at the time, would you believe it, Roy?
Yeah, and, no, I've always seen you as the young buck in the industry, the up and coming young fella. Yeah, but I proved my worth, I think, because they just kept piling on more and more responsibility, more and more magazines under me, and look, about 10 years went by, and the time came to move on. And so you've left Caravan World.
I did about 3 years ago or thereabouts. The gentleman I was working with, Grant Manson, we were both working for Caravan World magazine, and we saw an opportunity to branch out, form our own business called GORV, and we've been doing that ever since. And we've gone from strength to strength. Yes,
it's interesting that the magazine world has actually diminished somewhat, with the major competitor being Caravan and Motorhome magazine, which I believe aren't publishing magazines anymore, leaving Caravan World as the longest serving and the only surviving real caravan magazine out there today, isn't it?
Printed magazine,
Printed magazine, yeah.
Printed magazine, yeah. There was a little bit of friendly rivalry between Caravan World and Caravan and Motorhome, but you're right, that's not being printed anymore, and that was quite a fun magazine to read and always to look at. But we always saw ourselves as a bit more technical minded at Caravan World, delving into some of the more technical issues, while they were looking at some of the more lifestyle-focused things, which isn't to say they didn't, offer a technical perspective on Caravan World, but just saying that was always our focus, and continues to be sort of a bit of a focus on mine at GoRV now, the technical aspects of caravanning.
And I guess that's the point, isn't it, that we've moved away from this printed media, and you're a young and up and coming, very much alive and up to date with what happens in the electronic scene. So yes, it would be a natural progression for you to do more electronic media presentations than printed media. Would that be fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. I think, a number of years ago, the writing was on the wall, really, for print media in general. I think there is still a thirst for the printed publication, and I think there are plenty of people out there who love to sit down and read their hard copy magazine. But there's no denying the fact, Roy, that the world has moved on, and a lot of that, the the consumption of media has migrated to online, and so we developed that strong online strategy to make sure that GoRV is really just nothing but an online resource. So, and it works on any device. So we don't have a printed, hard copy magazine, and so and we're all free too. So we're not.
Yeah. So we sort of moved on to the GoRV. So for those people that don't know what GoRV is, could you actually explain to everyone what GoRV is and what it's all about?
So, look, we are an online resource for anybody interested in the RV lifestyle. Whether it's buying a new caravan, or you've got a caravan already and you're looking for a few hints and tips or places to take the van. That's what we're all about, and it's all online. It's all digital. So there is a website, but more importantly, there is a digital magazine. So we're not printing hard copies. It's all digital and it's all free. So all that content, and it's video content as well, can be accessed for free to anybody who wants to have a little look. We've got a strong, YouTube presence and social media. It's really just about providing information to people interested in the RV lifestyle around Australia.
So you're saying everything you do is free?
Yeah, exactly. So
that's another good reason not to buy a publication then, isn't it? So how frequent is your pub? Because I know one of the problems with magazines, not so much with Caravan World as I recall, but Caravan and Motorhomes were sometimes, they were months behind because the printed media was having to be sent overseas. Then by the time we got the magazine, the news was actually never really new. It was quite outdated,
Yeah, and I don't want to kick Caravan and Motorhome at all, but you're right. If I recall correctly, I think that magazine was printed in China, so there was a 3-month lead or lag time. So anybody who was advertising in that magazine, their ad would be almost out of date by the time it actually hit the shelves. So, which I think is probably what you're alluding to there, Roy. Our magazine is monthly and it's fresh every month. So we produce it in-house in Australia. We're not sending anything overseas or anything like that. We have our own in-house designers and we produce it actually in Cheltenham, in Victoria. And we like to think we're fairly current in that way.
We love Australian stuff, let me tell you. So it's available, it's online. What about applications such as tablets and telephones? Have you got apps, or is it simply read with a browser on those? Or how do you deal with those? Because obviously that's a very common way for people to gather information today.
Yeah. So we don't have an app as such. What we do is everything is driven by a database. So we're able to communicate directly with our e-newsletters to people who subscribe to GoRV. So again, you subscribe for free by going to the website, filling in your email address, and you will get updates from GoRV every week. And once a month, we will send a special email announcing that we published a new issue. Click on the link, open it up, and away you go.
So you're using the term subscribe. For most of our listeners, I think when they think subscriptions, they're thinking that they're actually paying money for it, and that can be a bit of a turn off if they see the word subscription up there. So, but that's not the case with your subscription. It's simply free, but you're going to update them and notify them when the new information comes out. Is that about it?
That's exactly right. You chuck in your email address and we'll send you an email once a week to update you on what we're doing and when there's a new magazine available for you to have a look at. Again, completely free. We're not going to ever ask you for money.
So, just because there's a lot of skeptics out there, Max, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and ask this question. There is no such thing as truly free. So if it's not truly free, how are you guys funded? How do you manage to be able to do this without charging for these subscriptions?
Oh, well, obviously we have advertisers.
Right, okay. And are they industry-type advertisers that you're using?
Of course they are. And I think that's also important because we're not going down to and getting ads from Coles or, any other, non-RV related business. These are businesses that hopefully our readers actually do have an interest in and want to see what, for example, Regal Caravans or whoever, what their offers are.
And I think that's a really good point that you're making, Max. So, I hate when I had all these ads thrown at me all the time for products that, quite frankly, I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in the latest the latest facial, plucking eyebrows and all this other stuff you get thrown. So while listening to yours, the ads that come up are at least perhaps products that I'm interested in purchasing. So it's a double whammy. I'm not only going to get the editorial issues that you're going to discuss, I'm also having potential product purchases put in front of me that I don't have to go looking for, because you're going to tell me what's out there and where I can get it, aren't you?
No, exactly right. And it is all relevant, and that's key. And we do try to, encourage our advertisers to offer readers special deals, exclusive through GoRV. And we do have a bit of success with that. And we will send out emails from time to time from a supplier, for example, Safety Dave. I hope you don't mind me mentioning these companies.
Not at all. No, please.
Who might have a deal on a reversing camera, or, Kamiq might be offering a deal on camp chairs or whatever it is. And these are deals that are only available through GoRV. And it's not every week, but it is something that we encourage our advertisers to do. So, again, that's a little bit of value that we're able to offer GoRV readers.
Yeah, can I say I'm a bit of a fan of Safety Dave's products? So, I'm quite keen for people to hear that these are sources of information where they can get products like that, which is great.
Mm.
So, Max, where do you go from here? You're the co-founder. And you're the managing editor of GoRV, is that correct?
That's right.
So where does Max Taylor go from here?
GoRV these days takes up, 99.9% of my time. I'm a family man. I've got 3 kids, a wife. We try to get out caravanning as much as we can. We have our own van. I have my own 4-wheel drive. But GoRV is, my baby. And, it's my objective to make it as relevant and as useful as possible for Australian caravanners and motorhomers. I don't have a 10, 15, 20-year plan for the business. I only want to make sure that it succeeds. And I think the success will follow just by sticking to some of the fundamentals, such as, relevance to our readers.
So what sort of information can they find in your editorials?
Travel tips, the little DIY modifications that people inevitably make to their caravans, ideas on how people can modify their, and when I say modify, Roy, I'm talking about, the clever little things that people come up with to make their life easier when they're caravanning. Yep. I'm not talking about doing a DIY suspension upgrade or anything like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate that. Some caravan reviews, overviews of caravans, that sort of thing, and real world experiences. So we've got a self-sufficient team of contributors out there who are on the road traveling with their families or just with their partner, and they're sending back their experiences about life on the road.
That was going to be my question. Who's doing some of the writing? Who can you tell us about that's doing some of your writing?
Oh, so there's this wonderful family. They're known on social media as Cool Campers, cool with a K and campers with a K.
Yep.
And they've got a couple of young boys, and they're getting around in their 76 Series Land Cruiser and their caravan, and they're off in remote areas sending back reports on their experiences on the road. And they just wrote an article that I really quite liked about how to maximise the space in your caravan. And they had all kinds of quirky ideas that they've applied to their own sort of lifestyle to, in order to maximise the amount of space in their van. And it's that sort of stuff that I really, really like. It's a little bit quirky, but it's useful.
Yeah. So you've got tips and trips, you've got travelling destinations, you've got a real life scenario out there where people are sharing their experiences, all these little ideas, which is all good for caravanners. So if I'm out there today and I wanted to subscribe, how do I go about it? What do I have to do?
I would go to gorv.com.au, and on the far right corner you will see a little tab saying subscribe. Click that. Fill that out, give us your email address, your name, and you'll go on our database and you will receive weekly updates from us. And that's all there is to it, Roy. And as I say, we're not going to ask you for any money at any point. We're not going to ask you for a credit card, nothing like that. This is just free. Sounds
pretty simple to get the sort of information that I might be looking for. Are there plans to do apps in the future, or is that really not on the cards at this moment in time?
Not at the moment. We're going to, I think, for the near term, just focus on developing the best content that we can.
So, Max, if you were to give our listeners a tip Obviously, the first tip is to go and subscribe to gorv.com.au. But if you would give them have you got a particular tip or an idea that you'd like to share with everybody?
When it comes to
Caravan, yeah.
Look, my number one tip is to, when you're buying a caravan, and I do get asked this from time to time. In fact, one of the big questions people ask me is, what caravan brand should I buy, Max? And, I won't go into that, but my number one tip is to first think about how you're going to use that caravan, and really, really think about that question and answer it as honestly as you can, because there's no point buying a van that's just not going to suit your needs long term. For example, I've got 3 kids, so obviously I need to make sure that I've got a van that's going to be suitable for their needs for at least another 15 years. So there's no point me buying a van that doesn't have, for example, bunks. But I also know that I like to go, off-road, and, I like to do tracks like the Oodnadatta and that sort of thing. So I want to make sure that I've got some independent off-road coil suspension, and I want to make sure that, because I like off-road and remote touring, maybe a fully articulating coupling would be in order. So think about how you're going to use that van and then work backwards from there.
Yeah, and of course, and when they're doing that, we can never lose sight of the tow vehicle's importance of making sure it's the right vehicle and that we've got our weights in order, can we?
No, that's exactly right. And I'll give you an example that I experienced about 18 months ago. I had my heart set on a 76 series Land Cruiser. That to me is, the ultimate vehicle that I would love to own at one point in my life. My wife hates it, by the way. I ended up with an MUX, and the reason being is I discovered that in the second row seating, that the middle seat position only has a lap belt. It's not like a lap sash belt, so it only goes over the middle child's lap. I didn't see that as suitable or safe, so I ended up having to disregard that vehicle because I've got 3 kids, and I ended up having to go with the MUX, which I'm perfectly happy with. So again, you're completely right. Really think about your needs, Roy.
Yeah, and I guess that's a really good story, because a lot of people would overlook things like that. But in my experience, people really do need to do thorough research before they purchase anything, whether it be the caravan or the car. Most times we're telling people, choose your caravan before you choose your car, because you can end up with the wrong vehicle. But it can be the other way around. Choose your vehicle that will give you the maximum abilities and actually fulfill those needs, and then your caravan afterwards. So I guess it can work both ways, can't it?
I do agree with you, because at the end of the day, the RV industry in Australia is so diverse. There is literally a product for everybody. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you have to choose the vehicle first, I could almost guarantee that you will find, with enough research, an RV that will suit your needs as well as the limitations, I guess, of the tow vehicle.
Yeah. Another interesting topic is in Australia is whether or not our caravans are superior to what gets made overseas. So without getting into the politics of that, the fact is that we have extremely tough terrain out there. And if you want to start going through that terrain, you do need the right vehicle, you do need the right caravan. So in that in mind, Max, do you have a favourite destination that you think we should be travelling to with our tough off-road caravan and a tough four-wheel drive?
That's a really good question. One area that I actually haven't done so far is the Gibb River Road, I'm embarrassed to say. I've been up that neck of the woods, but I haven't had the opportunity. But I would love to do the Gibb River Road and also the Tanami track. But you know what? One of my favourite destinations is, it's a little bit cliche, but I'm going to say it. It's Kakadu National Park in Litchfield. I love the top end of Australia, and I think it's not hardcore off-road necessarily, but there can be just a few little challenges to get you interested. And the scenery, have you ever been up there, Roy? Scenery.
I've got to say I haven't, Max, and it's definitely on my bucket list, but we've spent a lot of time talking to mayors throughout the country, and I'm discovering that there are things on our doorstep, even closer, that are absolutely amazing that I didn't even know existed.
I think
you actually don't need to travel that far, but if you're going to somewhere like that, and it's something I think we should all do. We all need to go and see this beautiful, unspoiled landscape. But there's lots to do on the way as well,
And I also, one little insight that I had some time ago, probably not even all that insightful, to be perfectly honest, but exploring our own backyard is something that we should all do. Because, for example, I live in Victoria. I've got the high country, just a few hours drive away. To somebody from your neck of the woods up in Queensland, the high country would be seen as some sort of an ultimate travel, must-do off-road destination. Well, I've got it right there.
Yep.
But I don't tend to go and explore it. Instead, to me, places up in Queensland, far north Queensland, or the top end of Australia are, my bucket list destinations. If I think about it, I've got the Great Ocean Road a couple of hours away. I've got the high country. I've got northwest Victoria, which is amazing. I've got, Mungo National Park in New South Wales, 6 hours away. So, yeah, we really should be exploring our own backyards as well.
You've got Mornington Peninsula, you've got the Murray River, you've got so much to see in your own. And I've been pushing this quite heavily, Max, and saying to people that during this lockdown that we've had with COVID-19, this doesn't mean you can't go caravanning. Heck, quite the opposite. You can travel within your own state, and there's so much to see, and wake up to the fact that you don't need to be travelling for a week or 2 weeks to finally land on a spot, have a look at it, and then make the journey back. That in fact you can travel within a few hours of any major city in this country and see some of the most spectacular things that people from overseas travel, 20 odd hours sometimes in plane trips to come and see. And we're not going down the road and having a look at it now.
And not only that, Roy, we can do it all on one currency with, one language without, border checkpoints. We can have rainforest, outback, country, beach, all within a few hours drive or, a day's drive. And that to me is one of the just most spectacular things about Australia.
Yeah. Yes. No, it's again, these are points that we're pushing quite heavily, and we've now been given the opportunity to rethink how we caravan in this country, how we do our holidaying, where we go and what we do. These regional centres that we've been pushing hard for absolutely need the business. They need people to go and visit and start spending their money there. And now's a great time we do not need to wait for the borders to open before we start doing it, do we?
I cannot wait to hitch up my van. I've got a little spot that I like to go to down on 90 Mile Beach in Victoria, sort of East Gippsland region, which was heavily affected by bushfires as well over the Christmas period. And I just cannot wait. The school holidays are coming up. I'm going to hitch up my van and I'm going.
That's another thing too. Yeah, those bushfire regions do need us. So if you're putting somewhere on your bucket list to go and visit, the bushfire areas are regrowing now. The places are starting to look really pretty and pristine again, and they desperately need our dollars to survive. So, yeah, great idea.
They really do, and I love that campaign idea. Do you recall the empty esky idea?
Refresh my memory.
The idea being pack as minimal food really as you can. Go and buy all your produce, your wine, your food locally. Yep. Support those local economies that we as RVers are so well positioned to assist.
Yeah, I'm all the time suggesting that people keep their fridge sizes down. They tend to fill them up, throw the stuff out because it goes off, where in fact what they should be doing is, as they're travelling, buying fresh produce in the local towns. There's so much variety and so many things you can buy anyway, and just turn it over the way you're suggesting. No, that's fantastic, Max. Look, I've got to tell you, it's been absolutely fantastic having you, and we appreciate you coming on and sharing some of that with us. And we're all going to go on GoRV and subscribe next. That's the next thing we're going to do, because we want to hear more about it.
Yeah, please do, and I hope you enjoy it. We do get a lot of positive feedback, and I thoroughly enjoy what I do, Roy. This is the best industry in Australia, if not the world, in which to work.
And it's an important industry to us. It's important for employment. It's important in so many different ways. Australia truly is the lucky country, but sometimes, we just don't see what's in front of our eyes.
Yeah, totally agree. Sometimes the grass seems a little bit greener on the other side. But really, if we open our eyes to what we've got, I think we'll all be very, very pleasantly surprised.
So let's all go caravanning. Max Taylor, thanks again.
That's okay, Roy. Hope you have a great day, mate.
And you. Cheers.
See you, bud.